Hey there, Go community. This week, Scott, Zack, and I discuss video game influencers and whether or not we heed their advice. Scott and Zack talk more about Final Fantasy VII Remake. Owens stops by to talk about a strategy game called Convoy, and Spencer shares his impressions of a VR game called Pixel Ripped 1995. We also learned of the passing of 2 voice actors this week and a possible upcoming shortage of PS5 consoles at launch. Thanks for listening to this week's episode of The Gaming Outsider.
Greetings, programs, and welcome to episode 291 of The Gaming Outsider, a video game podcast with a focus on our incredible community. It's Monday, April 20th. I'm your host, Scott Clark, and I'm joined, as always, by my fellow co-host, a guy who kind of missed me texting him every hour of the day the last couple days, Mr. Zack Parkerson.
Yeah, man, I'm used to being attached at the hip with you as you're playing through Final Fantasy.
I know, after going through Final Fantasy VII Remake, we've been texting like 12-year-old girls for the past couple days, and it's kind of done now. Like, I'm kind of sad.
I'm still shooting you text, Scott. You're too busy for me now.
I did have a busy day today. I apologize. I actually tried to get some stuff done for once, so...
It's okay. I cried into my pillow and talked to my girlfriends about it, and I think I'm feeling better.
Your girlfriends?
Yeah, because I was being a 12-year-old girl.
I thought you had some news to share. Got multiple. Got a few hanging on the line now.
Swimming in it.
Anyway, good to have you here again, man. Also joining us, our illustrious, and I haven't used that word in a long time, producer and lover of all things video game related, Mr. Nate Lucas. How you doing, man?
I am doing swell. How are you guys?
I'm doing well. I'm happy to have you on a full episode. You've been doing a lot of game reviews for us in the What You've Been Playing segment, but we haven't had you on a full episode in quite a while, so this is awesome.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I'm technically on every episode. Well, almost, but as a voice, not so much.
Right, yeah. We tried really hard about 10 episodes ago to stop like referencing Nate and being like, our producer is saying this. Now I can, because you're actually here, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
How are you guys doing? How are you handling being, I guess you're not stuck inside, are you, Zack? You're still out and about.
No, I work still, yeah. COVID be damned, coffee is too important.
Oh man, the world is crazy out there with everybody reacting to this. Did you hear about, I don't want to get political, but did you hear what happened in Kentucky today? Or I heard about in the news today? Kentucky is one of those states that's been out protesting the stay-at-home orders.
Yeah,
and then today they reported the highest increase in what do you call it? People getting COVID.
Infections, yeah.
Infections.
Shocker. I'm completely blown away by this information.
Like, please just stay home, guys. I understand it sucks, but I don't know. I'm the kind of person
perhaps this is a good thing, though. I mean,
like from a Darwin perspective.
I'm not saying, but I'm saying.
Not saying what you're saying.
I'm not saying
I agree with it, but I understand.
People are irritated that they have to be inside, and I understand. But at the same time, you got to do the best good for everybody. Not just
there's also some of them that are small business owners that have no income. You know, they're not lucky like me that I'm still getting paid, even though I'm not working the same hours I was before. I'm still getting the same paycheck. So there are some people that, you know, have better reasons for being upset other than they can't go to the hair salon to get their hair done.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine being in that situation. It really suck.
I am thankful that my job is considered essential and the state is still paying me. I am still working. People think I'm just sitting at home playing video games all day. I'm really not. I have lesson plans I got to write. I have to follow up with all my students and contact them if they're not there, and get on a conference call with them, and I redo them and all this stuff. But it's nowhere near the level of work I was doing before, and I'm still getting paid. So I'm incredibly lucky.
Cheery. What an uplifting start to this podcast.
Yeah, well, we got lots of positive things to talk about. Even though I didn't really play anything new this week, I feel kind of bad. I almost bought a game just to have something new to talk about, but decided against it. I was going to buy that Double Dragon on Xbox One because you can buy those. We're going to talk about that, aren't we?
Yeah. You're right.
We'll get there in
show.
News. I know. Let's go ahead and jump into the news. Well, before we get to the Double Dragon talk, we have some more bad news, unfortunately. We had two voice actors.
If we could just keep the downer going, sounds great.
Yeah.
So grim.
Two voice actors passed away this week. Paul Haddad, who was the voice actor for Leon Scott Kennedy from the original Resident Evil 2. That was a bummer. And then also Keiji Fujiwara, who was the voice actor for Reno, not only in the current Final Fantasy VII Remake, but he also played him in the, I believe, Advent Children, or I can't remember where else he was, but two very well-known voice actors unfortunately passed away this week. That one hits kind of home, yeah?
Yeah, there's quite a substantial amount of voices that they've contributed to, and I think Keiji Fujiwara also did Mace Hughes. I don't know if you're huge into anime. I don't think you are, but Full Metal Alchemist, fantastic, and he was a very prominent voice actor in a lot of the anime scene. So yeah, he'll be sorely missed. And then Paul Haddad, obviously, Leon Scott Kennedy, one of the very prominent characters in the original. Did he do the voice work in the remake? You know?
No. I don't remember. I don't think so. I think it was a completely different actor.
Yeah, the remake, it was recorded during the voice actor strike, so it was actually like new people who weren't even in the Voice Actors Guild yet who did those lines. Scab labor, they call it.
Did not know that.
Which is rude.
Huh.
That's a rude term, by the way.
Leon Kennedy was voiced by Nick Apostolides. I don't know if I'm pronouncing that correctly. Probably not.
Hey, who voiced Claire in that game?
Who voiced Claire?
Yeah, a charming.
Claire was Stephanie Panicello.
Shout out to her.
She's the one that you like her swearing, right?
Yes, she's a very good actress. She curses very well. She's great.
I love that that's like a prerequisite for you to consider someone a good voice actor if they can. How did you phrase it? Swear well? How did you phrase it?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Swear emphatically. I don't know. Swear very well. I think Cloud does a good job at the remake as well.
I was almost surprised to hear Cloud swear in Final Fantasy VII, but
they swear a lot in that game.
He's an ex-soldier. You gotta kind of expect it, though.
That's true. He was military, and everybody swears in the military, right?
Yeah.
Right. Well, his most common line in the game is "like I give a shit."
Oh, that was in the original, right?
Maybe, but in the remake,
in this one. I don't remember.
The remake, I feel like he says it like 9 times. It's his catchphrase.
Yeah, that's true.
There are a lot of dams in the first one. I don't know about his new catchphrase.
Not as
Maybe
many dams.
I think it was Barrett.
Barrett, but they bleeped out Barrett. Like he always had like ampersands and hashtags and stuff like that.
Did they leave that in? I mean, obviously they had voice actors, but if you put on the subtitles, is it still there?
No, it's not. That would have been. I didn't even think about that while I was playing it, but it still actually spells it out. That would have been hilarious if they did. Like we didn't know what he was saying in the original game. Anyway, Keiji Fujiwara also was in Metal Gear Solid, Kingdom Hearts, and he was also the Japanese dub of Iron Man. Like actually like Tony Stark. In the Japanese version, he was Iron Man. So he was pretty legendary. Paul Haddad, what else did he do here? He was in things like Harry Potter and the X-Men series, apparently. Both relatively young. Keiji Fujiwara was 55, Paul Haddad was 56, and as of the article that I read, Paul Haddad's death was unclear. However, he was suffering from throat cancer at the time the article was written, and Fujiwara was also cancer-related. So, unfortunately, that's a bummer. You know how they say that celebrities always go in threes? So I've been messaging Sissy Jones just to make sure she's okay. Because, Anyway, let's go on to better news. Apparently, this was not news to Zack, but it was news to me. You can now play 7 Nintendo Entertainment System games on the Xbox One. The games are Double Dragon 2 The Revenge, Double Dragon 3 The Sacred Stones, Crash and the Boys Street Challenge, River City Ransom, Renegade, and Super Dodgeball. How am I just now hearing about this?
I don't know, Scott. I listed them off in the new releases when they came out on PS4 a couple weeks ago.
Was it they came out on PS4?
Yeah.
I don't know why I wasn't paying attention at that point. I don't remember you saying all of these games.
I did. They came out in a collection. I cannot remember the name of the collection. But yeah, there's a bunch. Yeah. So that's good.
So that really gives me my whole potential for this story, just kind of shoots it in the water then, because I was thinking, hey, this means there might be something about that relationship between Microsoft and Nintendo, but you're saying that's nothing.
Yeah, I can't remember what the name of it was the Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Brawler Bundle. It came out on February 20th to PS4 and Switch. And I guess it just came to Xbox recently. I didn't mean to upend your theory. I tried telling you when you were excited about this news. I said this is a third-party NES games, man. Of course,
they're not Nintendo games.
That title really rolls off the tongue, doesn't it?
Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Retro Brawler Bundle. Sweet.
I don't know. I wasn't making the connection that was the actual like NES Double Dragon game, but I don't know.
So how much are these games? Are they like $5 a piece? I mean,
$5 a piece, yeah.
Are they
really
worth it at that?
How much are they in the collection?
Point?
I wonder.
Yeah, I don't know the price of the bundle, but they are $5 a piece, yeah.
That seems like a lot.
I mean, those are going to be like $2, like in a couple months, right?
Yeah. Or free. I mean,
say
Game Pass or
they won't come to Game Pass. There's
Why?
no
maybe
way.
the whole bundle will. They let everybody buy them, and then they'll bring the whole whatever bundle you just said, that fantastic named bundle is
I
an
don't
exclusive.
even know how to. I don't think I could
Do you mean
repeat
the-
it, honestly.
Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Retro Brawler Bundle? Is that what you mean?
I just wanted to hear you say it again. Yeah, that's the one.
It's a pretty ridiculous
Anyway,
title.
Each game has 1,000 achievement points for those of you hunters like me, and apparently they're pretty simple. There's only 10 achievements in each game, so each one is worth 100. And most of them you get just by beating the game, and a couple of them are unlocked by, like going into the menu and turning on the scan lines and doing something with the soundtrack. So if you can beat the game, you can very easily get the 1,000 achievement points if you're into that sort of thing. But yeah, I should have listened to you when you told me that these are third-party games. They're not licensed by Nintendo, but it gave me hope about the possibility.
I think what you're hoping for is inevitable. This wasn't the harbinger of things to come. The bundle, by the way, is $40.
$40.
But it comes with more. It comes with more games than listed here as well. There are 18 games total in the bundle. I'm not running down the list, but you get your money's worth. I guess.
Are there any standouts, like ones I would recognize?
I think. Well, there's like 5 Kunio-kun games. I don't even know what that is.
What those are.
Yeah. So I think they're all the precursors to River City Ransom.
Ah, okay.
Oh.
I
That might be
remember
pretty
Super
cool, actually.
Dodgeball being a ton of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Super Dodgeball was the one that was based on the River City Ransom characters. It was like the same sprites, but they were playing volleyball.
Mm-hmm.
And it was actually hilarious because you could do these power moves and power serves and power spikes and the characters would look like the death animation from River City Ransom when they got hit with the ball. It was hilarious.
Mm-hmm.
That and World Cup did the same thing. Remember World Cup? I think they were on the same cartridge, actually, on NES. You get Super Spike V-Ball and World Cup. It was like one or the other.
One I was thinking is Super Spike.
Yeah.
I bet they're in the bundle.
Well, World Cup is not. Oh, you think World Cup is in the
in the bundle,
Kunya Renegade Street Brawler bundle?
The Double Dragon and Kunio-kun Retro Brawler bundle. They owe me what? They owe me probably 20 cents for all this now.
Right. Well, I think I have to. At some point I'm going to have to go through the Double Dragon I mean, I want the achievement points, but I have a lot of good memories of the original Double Dragon. And I have it, so why do I need to pay $5 for it? But I actually like the arcade version better. Did you ever play Double Dragon in the arcade, Nate?
I played the Double Dragon Battletoads.
I don't remember that one was in the arcade for some reason.
I think so. I think it was Double Dragon Battletoads.
Well, the one I played was actually had like a little bit of a cheese thing you could do. There was an attack that you had that was a backwards elbow thing that you could do, and I could get through like several levels without ever taking a hit just by doing that over and over and over again. And I thought I was super clever.
Wow.
On one quarter, and I wonder if you could beat the game that way. I kind of want to go back and do that.
Yeah, I'm almost positive. If you haven't played it, Double Dragon Battletoads. I think it was like a collab. Obviously, it was a collab.
And I played Battletoads Double Dragon on Super Nintendo, but it wasn't. I don't know if it was the arcade version or if they were the same game. Or
it all gets fuzzy.
Yeah, I didn't realize there was a crossover between Double Dragon and Battletoads.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, you guys are the retro is your forte.
That's true. I mean, that was late 90s, though, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Or mid 90s?
Mid 90s.
Mid 90s?
Yeah, Super Nintendo was 92.
It was not as hard as the original Battletoads or the original Double Dragon, but it was tough.
I recently replayed the Battletoads, and it wasn't as hard as I remember it being.
Like the original Battletoads or the arcade one?
Like the hover bike or that specific area was annoying, but it wasn't as bad as I remember.
See, I didn't struggle with that as much as I struggled with like the downward descent on the ropes
with like spiders and spikes.
It was like these crows that had like scissors for a beak, and they would cut the rope.
Cut the ropes. You had to switch, and
it was annoying. And then you had to eat flies on the way down. I could never get past, I think, the ice level. Eventually, you get to the ice level, and it was just impossible. It was so hard. I did get to the snake level one time, and never again. That was at that point I was like, I'm never finishing this game, because that game gave you like 3 continues to do the entire game. There was no just keep continuing and start this level over. No, it was like start over at the very beginning, and it just was not going to happen.
In all its glory, Nintendo, we make you replay games.
Well, at that point, as long as you didn't have to throw a quarter in the machine each time to do it, I was perfectly fine with it when I was a kid and I had the time.
Oh yeah, you already ponied up the $60 for the cartridge.
No, I know, but if I go back and think how much money I used to put in arcade machines when I was a kid, just to I beat Sunset Riders at the arcade, just because there was nothing else to do, and I didn't have Sunset Riders on the SNES at the time. So
Terminator 2 Judgment Day.
Oh, that was the one with the gun on the
with the Uzis, yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I played the Aerosmith one like that.
Mm-hmm.
What was it called? Revolution X?
With Aerosmith?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you say Carnival, Zach?
Yeah, Carnival I liked a lot. In the old arcade.
I was a fan of, what was it called? Shooting Gallery? Or Police Trainer. Police Trainer was a fun one. I don't know why, but I was good at that one.
Is that the one? I played one at some truck stop in Iowa, but it was like some VR experience. You put on this headset, and then you had some like sensors around you, and it would detect like when you were crouching, and it was pretty cool. And
it was a police one. You had to duck behind cars and stuff.
Yeah, it was a training. I thought it was Police Trainer.
It's not the Police Trainer I'm thinking of, but I have played the one you're talking about. I actually have my wife took a video of me at Dave & Buster's, whatever, playing it. It's like a whole like grid that goes up and over your head, and you stand in front of it. Yeah, I've played that one.
Yeah.
Boy, we sure went off on a tangent there.
Yeah.
Did you ever play Mad Dog McCree?
Mm-mm.
No? Oh, man. When I was a kid, my family used to go visit my grandma in Iowa, which is what made me think of it. And on the way back, we would always stop in Rochelle, Illinois at a truck stop as like a last stop before we hit the last leg of the journey home. And it was like a tradition because we stopped there because they had a little arcade in the truck stop. And the game that I remember being there more often than not was Mad Dog McCree, which was a Western shooter, but it was full motion video. So you would square off against cowboys and have to shoot the cowboys And if you got them, then the screen would blip for a second and it would change to them falling over dead. But if you didn't get them and they shot you, they would stay standing and kind of look over you like they got you, and then the screen would flip to an Undertaker who would taunt you for being killed, and then basically talking about how he's going to bury you, and you've only got 2 lives left, and then would go back into the scene over again.
I've never played this, but I think I know what you're talking about. Did this originally come with like a blue and an orange gun to go together?
I remember the gun. I honestly don't. I remember you would holster it in the game where I played it. I don't remember what the gun looked like. I just remember holstering it.
I think I've seen like a console version of it.
Yes, I think it was on
store
3DO or something like that.
It was something like that.
And there actually was a PC version of it I played as well, but it just wasn't the same without actually shooting the gun. Because it actually had like a quick draw moment where you had to like hold the gun in the holster, which was at your side. It wasn't obviously holstered around you, but they put the holster so it was at hand level in front of the machine, and you couldn't pick it up. Otherwise, it was like you would die instantly. You couldn't draw until the other guy drew. So you had to draw quickly and get him before he got you.
That would be a really cool online multiplayer minigame.
Well, they did it on the 1-2 Switch game. Remember that?
I never played 1-2 Switch.
Man, that's almost worth having that game, 1-2 Switch. Each person faces off against each other with one of the Joy-Cons, and you have to hold it down at your side, and then you have to wait for the console to tell you to draw, and then it actually measures at what angle you pulled the trigger as you lifted the Joy-Con up, and it has to fall within a certain angle measurement, and then it's also whoever pulled the trigger first within that time. If you pull the trigger too early or do it too late, it won't work. It's like really kind of ingenious.
Talking about all these great classic games makes me really disappointed in what Xbox has now as far as some NES games.
As far as what games?
there should be better titles on there than Double Dragon and River City Ransom. They should have brought all these classics back to the Xbox.
Man, I mean, but most of the best ones were not third party is the problem, right?
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, most of the best games had that Nintendo seal of quality, or they were Nintendo titles, so I don't know. And we do have them on Switch, if you've got the Nintendo Online subscription, which, by the way, I got a notice that I paid for another month of that because I forgot to turn off auto-renew. So I got another month of that, yay.
Fun.
So, is Chrono Trigger on that?
No way.
No.
Square Enix, people will pay $10 for Chrono Trigger.
That's true.
People will pay $20 for Chrono Trigger.
Right.
On Switch.
There's money for Square Enix to make.
It's true. Anyway, I got one last story. Speaking of the modern consoles, Sony announced that they will be releasing limited quantities of the PS5 at launch. I know that they're talking 5 to 6 million units by the end of the fiscal year, which is March of 2021. And just for some perspective, the PS4 sold 7.5 million units in its first 2 quarters, which is about the same time frame. Now, things could change depending on what happens with the handling of COVID-19. But do you think there's going to be it's going to be hard to get a PS5 at launch?
Yeah, not to mention all those people getting those stimulus checks. A lot of people kind of ready to pony up some cash for a new console. I think the timing would have been great, but at the same time, you can only do so much with what's going on right now. And I understand there's going to be some production delays, but I don't know. I think they're not going to make... Well, obviously, there's less units. I don't think they're going to be as successful as they did in the PS4. I think it's going to kind of come back to bite them. Maybe it'll drive up interest too, though. You never know.
I don't know. I was talking to Gamer Dad on Discord yesterday because he asked me about this and how I thought, and he thought if I thought that they were shooting themselves in the foot, you know, as they're trying to compete with Sony or with Microsoft, excuse me, and I said I don't think this is anything they want to do. I don't think this is them, you know, saying, hey, we only want to ship 5 to 6 million units. I don't think that's what they're going for. I think this is they're out of options. But I also fired back and said, but if Nintendo has ever proven anything right, they're the kings of making hardware scarce at launch. And they haven't had any problems. So I don't see this being a thing that's going to shoot anybody in the foot. Plus, Microsoft is going to have the same problem, right?
Right. To me, this almost felt optimistic. These projections. I kind of, I would have thought. I mean, yeah, just.
I think any new console right now is going to have issues.
It's hard to believe that it's coming out in any kind of reasonable timeline because we just don't. Everything is so up in the air about everything, you know. Like we don't even know where Wonder Woman's coming out. And now it's supposed to.
No.
And it's just kind of hard to believe that these new consoles are going to come out at a time where are people going to want to spend the money? Are people going to be hoarding the stimulus check, or have they already spent it maybe on something foolish?
Nobody is hoarding stimulus checks except for people that are in a position to save.
I mean, can you get more than one? I mean, can you hoard other checks?
Can you
Touché.
hoard other
Like
checks?
to hoard, you would have to say that there are multiple. You can only have one.
We'll see how this goes, man. We'll see how long this keeps going.
Hoarding those dollars.
True.
Is that better?
Yes.
Yes. The dollars are being hoarded, potentially. I'm just saying, I don't know if a console launch is the best move.
No. I agree.
So you think that both companies should just hold off and wait till 2021 to launch these?
I think they stand to make quite a bit more money if they're limiting the amount of consoles they have available.
Yeah, I know it feels, reactionary or whatever, but there's no shortage of great games to play on PS4 and Xbox One. Like, I know I could hold off for another year just fine. Even with the announced slate right now, I would be just fine.
Oh, totally. I mean, I don't even want to know what's on my backlog at this point. There's so many games, not even ones that I haven't played, that ones I would like to replay. I just downloaded the Uncharted collection on PSN because Sony gave it away to everybody this past weekend, and I was like, I would kind of like to go back and play those games again.
Yeah.
I don't remember the last time I just went back and replayed something just for the fun of it, and that sounds pretty awesome. So I am perfectly
replaying
okay with it.
games is a magical experience that probably because of the show, we just don't get to do that often.
Yeah. It's pretty awesome. I miss it. It's kind of sad. I should just do that.
Yeah, how great was Skyrim, Scott?
I haven't touched it in a month. I really should jump back into that.
But you're really enjoying it while you were playing it.
I was having a blast playing it.
Might be a good sign that it's okay to go back and play something for you every now and again.
Yeah, but everybody's going to just get annoyed with me talking like, well, just played some more Skyrim, this 10-year-old game. I'm still playing
Well, there's other games you could replay. You're like, oh man, Uncharted 1, you know what? It hasn't aged that great. Or you could be like, oh, I'm kind of impressed at how well it aged.
Yeah. Well, we are going to be talking about Uncharted next month. David Newman is playing through all of them, and we're going to talk about that for Break the Seal on Patreon. So I'm going to have to dive into some of them a little bit. At least.
I better be on that show.
Yeah? You're welcome to be on that show, man.
I've been known to enjoy an Uncharted. As long
just
as
one of them? Just
an
Uncharted?
All of them. One exception. There's one exception.
4 wasn't that bad.
I didn't think 4 was bad either. I liked it.
4 was twice as long as it needed to be, and told the same story as 3. I can't do this every week, though.
I don't know. I felt like 4 was short. I really did.
Like 16 hours, man.
I guess I was just super into it. I don't know.
I
liked all of them. I thought they were all good.
You can replay all 3. You can replay Uncharted 1, 2, and 3 in the same amount of time it would take you to play just Uncharted 4.
No way.
Absolutely. Mark my words.
I'll let you know next week.
Yeah, I guess David Newman could be the arbiter. Or if he blasts through them, I guess, really fast.
That's true. Well, speaking of Patreon, we do have some episodes available for you. Talked about it last week. Super Mario RPG, where Zack and I talked about that. Our Break the Seal for God of War on PS2, which Christina and Nate joined in on for that one. And then today, actually about an hour or so before this recording, Zack and I sat down with 2 other gentlemen, Mr. Patrick Klein from EXPcast, as well as Mr. Brandon Smith, who's been on the show in the past. We did a spoiler cast for Final Fantasy VII Remake. I had to sit down and talk to somebody about what I saw in that game, and so that should be up in the next week or so. Actually, I guess I should ask Nate. Nate, when should we have that up on Patreon?
Oh, sometime soon.
Sometime soon.
Perfect.
Sometime soon.
Love it.
Perfect.
And exactly sometime soon.
And then Nate, you and I are going to sit down and talk about Super Metroid. How are you coming along on that game?
I think I'm about, I don't know, I'd say 60, 75% done.
Okay. I'm going to have to sit down and play through that one again. That one is on Switch. I can play through that one. So
Yes,
I can.
It's also on the Wii U.
I don't have a unboxed Wii U anymore.
Oh, it's a shame. It's a great console.
Why would you?
But
just for Metroid.
I actually did replay Super Metroid on the Wii U when I still had one.
Awesome.
That was back when I used the Wii U like it was a Switch. I just hooked it up to I literally had the Wii U sitting next to my end table, not end table, but whatever it is next to my couch. I plugged in the Wii U right there and then just had the tablet, and I would play games on it like it was a Switch before I knew what a Switch was. So we'll be talking about that. And also, I'm supposed to sit down and talk to Chad this month about Chrono Trigger. Speaking of Chrono Trigger, I guess I better get on that game because I'm only about 2 hours into it. So I got some work to do. I got a lot of retro games to play for the month of April, as it were. We got to get CB back here because I can't handle all this. Anyway, let's go ahead. Before we jump from the outside in topic, I would just want to say, if you would like to experience any of those Patreon episodes and would like to help us out, head over to patreon.com/thegocast. So this week in the news, we learned that Jason Schreier recently left Kotaku to pursue journalism at another outlet. I believe he's going to Bloomberg, if I read that correctly today. It got us thinking a little bit about influencers in the video game industry and how much stock we put into their work. So I want to open it up to you guys. Do you guys pay close attention to journalists, streamers, or any other video game influencers out there?
Sure. Yeah, of course. I mean, I kind of got inspired to want to write about games because of, I guess they were just games critics back then, right? We didn't use the term influencer back in the day. But you had
because influencer kind of encompasses more than just writers, right?
Yeah, these days I think that's pretty fair. I mean, I would argue most people probably get their gaming content through YouTube and podcasts.
Mm-hmm.
But like, hey, I mean, back in the day, you had your Jeff Gerstmans, you had your GameSpot crews. They were definitely big names back then.
Well, remember, even before like the advent of the internet, it was all magazines. That was all we had. Was you'd get a monthly magazine in the mail,
right?
Nintendo Power and GamePro for me.
Yeah,
those were on subscription. Oh yeah, I miss GamePro. I really do.
GamePro is pretty cool.
That's what's the one that was at GameStop? Was that Game Informer?
Game Informer, yeah.
Yeah.
They're still kicking along in print.
Are they really?
They'll tell you at the register that you can only get a digital subscription. They are lying to you. It is still in print.
Wow.
You just get a bigger pat on the back if you make a digital subscription.
They still have like game demos with that?
No. And by the time you get them, it's outdated information anyway.
Like I would imagine it's easier. They used to ship out like the full discs if you bought the magazine from the store. Why not just do like a digital code that you can enter in and you get access to a pre-alpha or beta or whatever? It'd be kind of cool.
I think theft is an issue. I mean, I know that's the same thing if you have a physical disc, but in the advent of just being able to snap a picture of it and take it with you somewhere, someone could just rip them open and do that and then sell them.
It's true.
And just kind of,
unfortunately,
most major games also just don't do demos anymore.
It's a shame. I miss stuff like PlayStation Underground.
Oh man,
yes.
One of the biggest things, like back when the PlayStation first came out. Like you had all your Twisted Metals on there. There's a game called Spider on one of them that was fantastic.
That was like a platformer, right? Like a 2D platformer. You played as a spider.
Yeah, but you had like robot arms.
Yep.
Yeah, great.
Well, what was the game that had the Final Fantasy VII demo on it? It was a game nobody wanted. Or was it Parasite? Was it Parasite Eve?
I think they had a demo for 8.
Was it a demo for 8?
I think so.
What game was it that had 7, though? Because I remember playing the crap out of the Final Fantasy VII demo as a kid and never played the original game.
But I mean, Square Enix definitely did do that, where they, it'd be 4 discs, but the 4th disc was a demo sampler or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Man,
wasn't the Parappa the Rapper demo on PlayStation Underground?
Yes, it was.
Because I only played that one level. Punch, kick, it's all in the mind.
Yes.
Test me. I'm sure you'll find.
And over again.
I think all of my Bushido Blade experience was a demo. I want to say.
Oh, yeah. That's the only Bushido Blade I've ever played.
Yeah, it's like it was like a one snowy map, if I'm remembering correctly. But like, why would you need actual Bushido Blade? You die in one hit.
Believe it or not, they had NASCAR 98 on one of those demos, and it had a paintball mode, and that sold me on the game.
Wow.
And that was a fantastic PlayStation 1 game. It's NASCAR. I don't even watch NASCAR, and that game was fantastic. All because of PlayStation Underground.
How does a paintball mode work in a NASCAR? Like, is it like Mario Kart?
Well, someone's in front of you, it spins the guy out. So that if you have a whole bunch of people playing, you had the multi-tap, you'd have 4 people racing at the same time, and you'd get behind somebody and take them out.
I feel like there's no way a license like NASCAR or NFL or something would have that much fun these days.
No.
No.
I mean, the last one we got with NFL was NFL Blitz, right? And even the reboot of that series I heard was awful.
Oh, yeah. EA did do one, didn't they?
Yeah.
Oh, man. Forgot about that.
Was it like Blitz the League or something like that?
No, that was like one of Midway's last. But EA did put out a NFL Blitz in like 2013 or 2014 on PS3 and 360.
But the cover looked all super serious. Like it was...
I think you're thinking of Blitz
like an actual sports game.
Because remember they did a new NBA Jam. Do you remember that on PS3 and 360?
Yeah, yes. Decent.
That's actually still backwards compatible. Whereas NFL Blitz is not.
As I say, they did a Blitz like right after that EA, but that NBA Jam was good.
No. Your NFL Blitz was also on 360 and PS3.
Right. Yeah,
but there was another Blitz that was like independent. I heard wasn't very good.
Okay, I believe you. There's a lot going on right now with this license. Apparently, a lot of confusion.
I don't know anything about.
I know Blitz. I remember Blitz the League because you could drug up your players.
I didn't remember that.
I remember that.
All I remember is that you couldn't pile drive like a player after you tackled them like you could in NFL Blitz, and that's all I wanted to do.
Yeah, that kind of ruins about half the appeal.
Yeah.
I was thinking of Mutant League football or something for that. There was a Blood Bowl.
Blood Bowl. Yes. Gavin, one of our listeners, Gavin, was a writer for that game.
Oh, really?
Really?
Or was it Blood Bowl or was it not Blood Bowl but Mutant? I'm terrible. I'm sorry, Gavin. You're gonna have to write in and let me know which one it was.
It was one of those sports games with mutants and creatures. And
we had him on and interviewed him about the game a little bit.
Gavin, shoot me a message. Let me know how to get into games writing. Thank you. All right, moving on.
As far as me, I mean, like I said, as a kid, it was magazines. It was anything print I could get my hands on because I didn't really know how to use the internet when I was younger. But yeah, nowadays I try to consume as many video game podcasts as I can. But
yeah, I used to listen to almost exclusively video game podcasts. Then I started doing one, and it kind of got a little less interesting to listen to other ones, just because, if we get early access to some games now, and like I'm always worried about is my opinion going to get colored, etc. But I do still listen to plenty of video game podcasts.
Yeah, it's funny you say that. I was actually talking to Gabe from Married to the Games a few weeks ago when I saw him in Minneapolis, and he made the comment that he tries to not listen to gaming podcasts because he's worried about copying them. He wants to make it very sure that what they're doing is their own thing and they're not taking ideas from somebody else. And I thought that was kind of interesting. And I just can't not listen because I just like listening to people talk about games. I want to hear their thoughts on the game, see if it aligned with mine, or hear them talk about a game that I have not had a chance to play to see if it's something I want to pick up.
Right. Yeah. Just to clarify, it's not that I don't listen to any. I just listen to less than I used to. Still listen to plenty.
I assumed. Yeah.
Yeah.
I assumed.
But I mean, yeah. Oh, I guess for modern day, also, I guess I didn't really. I do watch a lot of long form video essays about video games on YouTube.
What are video game essays?
Or video? Well, they're video essay on YouTube. It's just like a long form dissection. Yeah, it's a critique. It just takes 45 minutes as they really go through the nuances of a game. Or you get somebody like I just think it's really good. Or there's a lot of film video essayists on YouTube as well. That's really good. There's Lindsay Ellis. She did a really tremendous video series on how the Hobbit movies mucked everything up, for instance.
Nice. Yeah, it's basically they take a written essay, they just do it in spoken form, and they have the video of certain shots playing in the background while they're discussing it.
Okay.
I should get into more of that. There's just something about watching YouTube videos that to me doesn't feel like a sit down and watch experience like a Netflix or a Hulu, that for whatever reason I cannot get past that. And it shouldn't be an issue, but like I never like sit down in front of my TV and say, let's see what's on YouTube. And I don't know why.
I would implore you to check Oxhorn out. He is incredibly entertaining to watch.
Okay, what does he do?
So what he does is he plays along. He does these playthroughs as he's playing along with them, but he adds kind of his own flair to the existing story. So say he's playing Fallout. He will just basically take everything apart from the lore and analyze it, like super analyze everything. And the way he tells it in his own style is very intriguing and very entertaining to watch.
There's. Oh, sorry, I didn't want to cut you off. I was just gonna the YouTube channel Star Wars Explained. That guy, he does playthroughs of Star Wars video games and kind of points out all the lore tidbits along the way as well.
I like just hearing like the story and then getting a little extra from creators too. I like people that develop these channels that kind of give you more bang for your buck and give you a little bit more of an entertaining storytelling kind of vibe rather than just watching someone play.
Yeah, no, I agree. There's a really good, I do not remember the name of the YouTuber, but there was a really tremendous Bloodborne lore playthrough I watched all of, and even though I had beaten it, like it's just so much to learn still.
Mm-hmm. And it's funny, living in the age that we do, it's very easy to look at streamers and people that watch people stream games and go, why would you want to sit there and watch somebody play a game? Wouldn't you just play it? And I think from an old man's perspective, now that I am officially old, it becomes a time issue. Because when you're a kid, you got nothing but time. And you don't have the resources necessarily to buy all these games that you want to play.
Mm-hmm.
So when I was a kid, I would have eaten up being able to watch somebody. I remember my buddy figured out how to record his gameplay on a VCR. He recorded himself playing the original Nintendo on a VCR, and my mind was blown that we figured out how to record somebody playing a video game, and all I wanted to do was watch him play this game that I didn't have. So in that instance, I feel like that's why we have gone from writers and journalists to influencers, people that are playing these games and have an audience and are watching this and deciding from watching that if they want to purchase it, or watching because they don't have access to the game or can't afford to buy the game.
There were a couple game shows, I believe, on MTV back in the day that had a whole bunch of video game trailers and stuff like that too. That was pretty entertaining to watch.
Yep. I remember one where they had all these arcade cabinets lined up on the back of the stage.
Mm-hmm.
And I used to spend the entire show trying to look at the arcade cabinets to determine what games they were.
Yep.
Because they were always in demo mode or whatever, and I loved that. I always wanted more video game game shows when I was younger.
Yeah. I guess when I was younger, we had XPlay and I guess G4 in general. Man, I wish we had this kind of YouTuber content.
Oh man, I know we say this all the time, but I miss XPlay. I miss having a television show that just did like a wrap up stuff. Why are podcasts more popular than that? You know, like
Everybody's going to work now. But as a kid, you just sat around and watched TV and ate Cheetos. Now you got to actually,
That's
drive
true.
to work and make money.
But I would come home from work and watch XPlay. My wife used to drive my wife crazy. Like I had seen this episode of XPlay 3 times, and I'm rewatching it because that was all we had.
Yeah. Yep.
I remember rewatching XPlay in id infantanium, man, just over and over again.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't care if you knew they were about to get Evan Rising a 3 out of 5 or not. Doesn't matter.
3 stars out of 5.
Yes, the long.
I still
pause
follow
of
Adam Sessler.
Oh, really?
I still follow Adam Sessler on Twitter.
Is he worth? Is it a good follow?
He doesn't talk about games anymore, but he's kind of entertaining because he's turned political.
Oh, of course. Yes.
But I just always liked the guy, and he's just he just yells at people with opposing political views nowadays.
That does seem to be what many video game journalists do.
Yeah, I don't know. I just still had a lot of respect for the guy. What he did, he just seemed like he did his own thing. I felt like, and it just worked. And he and Morgan Webb together, I looked forward to the two of them. I really did.
Yeah, I mean, hey, that was a great dynamic, and I guess in a lot of ways they were trailblazers.
Mm-hmm.
They walked so YouTubers could run.
Wow, that's a great way to put it. I also really like Kevin Pereira. He just seemed like a very down to earth kind of guy. I actually listened to some of his podcasts just because he seems like a normal dude.
Oh, does he do? He does a podcast?
He used to. I don't know if he still does. I haven't listened to it regularly, obviously, but he is just a dude you want to be buds with. I don't know. Plus, he likes Coheed and Cambria, so I automatically a couple extra points.
Well, Sean Coates, he wrote in. Generally, I actually don't really have a go-to game reviewer either in print or on YouTube, at least not for modern games, since all my go-to game reviewers are retro channels. But apart from you guys, whenever he's talking to us, the Gaming Outsider. But apart from you guys, whenever I want to see how audiences and critics are reacting to a game, I'll just do a YouTube search for said game, and of course the usual heavy hitters show up first, like IGN, GameSpot, etc., and I'll get a general consensus based on what people are saying.
I'm guilty of doing that as well. I actually have gone as far as going to YouTube and typing the name of a game, and then at the end of it type IGN review. Just because I know they're going to do a 3 to 4 minute succinct review of the game, give me some pros and cons. They're going to cut it well. It's going to be written well. The guy voicing it's going to be great. There's nothing worse than like trying to find a video review of a game that you want to check out, and the first couple are always somebody that don't understand how a microphone works. They don't understand how to speak into a microphone in a way that sounds like they're either excited or upset with something. That there's no emotion. They're just reading a script. And I'm not the best orator in the world. I'll fully admit that. But IGN was always a name attached to a review that I knew was going to be quality in terms of giving me the correct information.
Yeah, I mean, I used to be pretty obsessed with IGN back.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess Podcast Beyond. I don't know if either of you guys
Beyond.
know of. Yes, there you go. I used to absolutely adore that show with Greg Millen, Collie Moriarty, Ryan Clements. That was the crew, man. And back then, I really feel like IGN had a staff that I really kind of adored, but all those people kind of left, so IGN doesn't really do it for me anymore. And I can't remember the last time I actually watched an IGN review of anything, to be honest. I mean,
it's been a while.
Arrow and Flash reviews every week, of course. But
Arrow and Flash reviews?
Yeah, the TV shows.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're doing... Did they always do, like, TV show and movie reviews, or was it primarily games?
I think it used to just be... They used to be the Imagine Games Network. It used to just be video games. But yeah, they did kind of start to... Now they're an all-encompassing... Yeah, well, I don't know when
it is hard to find video game stuff on their site. You can't even filter it to just video game content.
Most of it's just like modern TV.
Well, it's modern TV, it's movies, it's comics, which I'm not knocking any of that, but I feel like it's hard to find a site that is just about games anymore.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. There's really not a whole lot of just dedicated to video game websites left.
I don't know why. It's not like there's not enough happening in the industry. There's not enough games. There's plenty of all of that.
I think that GamingOutsider.com does a damn good job.
You know what? I have heard of these guys, and they are something else. Well, but
keep an ear out for those guys.
I think the website is actually Scott Clark and the GamingOutsider.com, though.
Jesus. Well, speaking of tooting your own horn, don't you have another comment there, Zach?
Yeah, no, hey, look, my cheeks will probably turn red as I read this, but Caramel Bear wrote in, always look forward to Zach's intake on games. Ever since listening to the podcast, his critiques are always on par with how I feel with most games. He's actually the reason I picked up Nier and Nier Automata. I know, the games that shall not be named. The problem is finding the time to play the games considering that I work nights and have a family. I also shared the podcast episode with my wife where Zack discussed Kojima and his new game with a bit of Metal Gear to the wife, and she was in agreement with a lot of what Zack was saying. Plus, we learned a thing or two as well from him regarding Kojima's history. I do pride myself on being an encyclopedia. As far as journalists or YouTubers, I tend to ignore them. Before hearing the Go podcast, I focus on Twitch streams to get a taste of the gameplay, get a feel for the style, and then make the purchase if what I saw catched my attention. P.S. I'm sorry if this makes you feel warm and fuzzy, Zach, in any way. I promise you that was not my intention. Also, the Smirk podcast is amazing. It's true. Smirk is amazing. Hey, thanks, Caramel Bear. I thanked you on Discord already, but that was a very touching thing to read.
Caramel Bear, I got to tell you, this is how much your comment touched him. He literally took a screenshot of it and texted it to me and said, wow, ... So he was quite moved by your comment. So thank you.
It's true.
Thank you very much for that.
And thank you, Scott, for ratting me out.
Yeah. I people got to know you have feelings, man.
It's a closely guarded secret that I have emotions. Thank you.
I know.
Moving along, I got a comment from Matt Hacksaw Sattler on Discord. He says, I don't look for people's opinions. Games media is full of these outrage influencers, and personally, Schreier and the like are why I don't. I will go to certain publications and podcasts are a big influence as well. I will watch streams or YouTube to get a feel for things. I don't have a lot of direct resources because I compile information for myself. And I think that's really important to kind of make your own assumption before just going out and buying a game based on what you're watching, because that content provider has put certain images and thoughts in front of you to try to get you to see that game from their perspective, I think.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying that they have a personal bias, but I think they can flavor certain games in a way that may not accurately represent the game. And I think making your own judgment, your own call on games is the best. Is probably the better idea.
Well, I think the trick is finding that person that aligns very closely with your tastes, right?
True.
Like, finding somebody that you trust, that they're going to not deliver information that not with some kind of agenda behind it. They're giving you an honest opinion about how they feel about the game because they want you to either play it and have the same experience they did, or they want to keep you from having a poor experience that they had from playing a game that they may not have wanted to otherwise.
Right, and even if
and then going from there.
And even if it's someone you don't, personally align with, as long as you can still respect their opinion, that's still going to inform you about the game.
Mm-hmm.
Even if someone consistently likes games you don't and is well informed and thoughtful about it, at least you know to dodge that game, because if they like it, you won't. But it's important to get a perspective that isn't your own.
Here's the thing, though. I mean, you could be missing a gem that might be really great to you, but you've simply written it off just because you don't align with someone. I think every game has a chance, and I think every game should be given a chance.
Right.
If you can appreciate that genre.
would you argue perhaps that there are no bad games, just games that aren't for you?
I think we can all make that argument, and I would most certainly agree.
Yeah, couldn't agree more.
Mm-hmm.
I got a comment that came from a new listener by the name of Keith Johnston Naylor Seth. I apologize, I don't know how to pronounce your last name. I don't really follow much when it comes to gaming journalists. I do check reviews just to kind of see a little inside of things with a game I'm not aware of, as what they may think is bad, I may find good for myself. But to be honest, I was made aware of this journalist when he was saying how Final Fantasy VII Remake was too hard for him to do, even on easy mode, while playing the demo, and I was questioning his ability as a gamer, because my good friend's son managed to do it, and he was 8 years old. So you got that going too. I think that comes down to an editor's responsibility. What game are you assigning to somebody to review? That would be like assigning a platforming game to CB. That would be like assigning a shmup to me. That would be like assigning an educational game to Zack. I mean, it's a game you're obviously not going to like. That
was a slight.
No. I meant like a children's educational game. Like, I'm not going to give you Mathland, which I had a student review for us, if you remember a while back. You're not going to want to play Mathland. I mean, you're going to talk about it fairly, but it's a bad example. My point is, who's reviewing the game? I'm not going to give someone that hates JRPGs Final Fantasy VII Remake to review.
Yeah.
They're not going to give it a fair shake.
Well, I mean, even if they do, like, who does that serve, you know? Because people who want to play JRPGs want the opinion and experience of someone who also likes that genre.
Exactly.
Just for what it's worth. But hey.
For sure.
I mean, man, the only reason I played the first Nier was because Zero Punctuation. I mean, he said it was like a very okay game, but like all the things he was complaining about in his review are things that intrigued me deeply.
So I love Zero Punctuation reviews, by the way.
He's very funny. But while he's complaining about the tropey story of the dad and the daughter, or there's a gardening mini game you have to engage in, or like he's complaining about these things, and all of them I'm like, yes, I will play this.
And you're making that game sound a lot like Shenmue. All of a sudden.
No. No, but it has some aspects that you don't. They're all on the outside. They're on the fringe. Don't worry about it. You don't have to engage in them.
Okay.
But there are things you can do, and I love Shenmue. So you throw that into a JRPG, and I'm into that.
All right. So what influencers do you guys pay attention to, if any?
Well, I was talking about Oxhorn earlier, but I know Zach has a couple that he wanted to talk about.
I mean, Nate, you can go first. You know, there's no order to this madness. You tell Scott to show his format where the sun don't shine.
So yeah, I talked about Oxhorn earlier, how he has the ability to take a story that already exists and kind of twists his own narrative in along with it, and he's just very entertaining to watch. As far as like informational stuff, I play a lot of Pokemon, and I think Austin John does a fantastic job kind of going through and breaking down the Pokemon games from every aspect, whether it's, Pokemon breeding, catching certain ones, shinies, shiny dens, basically anything you want to know. He's very informative. He has a lot of videos and tutorials on games that have a lot of content, and he explores that depth, and he does a very good job of doing so. I watched a lot of his content on Breath of the Wild when that came out, and he went through and he did all of the Koroks. I think there was 999 Koroks, just ridiculous. But he, went through, and he's a very big completionist when it comes to these games, and just to see the amount of information that he can get out of these games is incredible. I think he's the kind of gamer that will go and play a game to death and then kind of be done with it. So he's a lot of fun to watch.
Very cool.
Well,
Zach?
Oh man, I mean, there's plenty. Mentioned earlier Colin Moriarty from Podcast Beyond. I listen to all of his current stuff. What's interesting about that is, even though I listen to his PlayStation podcasts and even the bonus episodes of it, I often disagree with the man, but I find him to be well-spoken and informative, and I think he puts on a very good show. So it's definitely always worth the listen. He's also just a cool guy. He responds to every single Patreon message. Fun fact. Which I think is pretty impressive when you have over 5,500 patrons. Joseph Anderson is a YouTube video essayist that I enjoy quite a bit. He's kind of crazy, though, because he takes long form to the max. He just put out a 4.5-hour critique of the first Witcher game. And
Oh, wow.
he's kind of a crazy man because he played through all of the games, then he played them through again on hard, then he read all of the books. He just you can guarantee he had a thorough experience, is what I'm saying, before he puts out his videos.
He likes Witcher, apparently.
So if he has this 4-hour critique of the game, is that exploring a lot of content? Like, is that giving a lot of the actual game away? Like, is this something that kind of shy away from for people that just want a quick review of the game?
Yeah, I mean, certainly if you want a quick review, that is not the way to go. It does spoil some things, but he really, for the Witcher video, right? I haven't finished it yet because 4.5 hours is quite a chunk. And again, this is only part 1 of 3 in the series. But he really goes into he'll break down how the quests are structured because he played through the game 3 times or whatever, so he can kind of very informatively tell you that your decisions do matter. Like this thing that you do in chapter 1, bores out fruit in chapter 8 or something like that. And yeah, it's just a lot of, he really gets into the granular details of games.
Cool.
And I think they are tremendous videos. He has some shorter ones too. He did 2 minute reviews that are only 20 minutes. But when he really digs into them, I think they're very entertaining. I'll watch an hour of that Witcher video and not even notice the time has passed. Got a great speaking voice as well. Rekka Alexil, I just want to shout her out. She's the queen of Nier, you would say. She does all kinds of videos and gives us information out of Japan. Runs a tremendous website. But then other people. Giant Bomb used to be my gaming love, man. I would listen to everything they put out. It's kind of harder these days because
I was in that boat. I used to listen to them every single week.
But they seem to like video games. I guess I can just say that. Their sister podcast, Giant Beastcast, I still listen to and adore every week.
I really like the one guy on Beastcast. Is it Vinny?
Yeah, the host.
That is Vinny?
Yeah.
I really like Vinny a lot.
Well, I mean, he very much operates by our credo of there are no bad games. Whenever he doesn't like a game, he'll just be like, hey, you know what? It wasn't for me.
Yeah.
So, yeah, he's also incredibly funny.
He is hilarious.
Alana Pierce puts on one hell of a podcast right now.
I
with
like
her co-hosts. She's smart, funny. She does a podcast with Austin Wintry, the composer, voice actor Troy Baker, game designer Mike Bithell, and that podcast is insanely good and incredibly informative.
When she first came out, I don't think she was very well received, but it seems like she's kind of making a good run at it.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what, I didn't particularly care for her when she worked at IGN, to be honest, but since breaking away from them, I think she's really struck out on her own in a big way.
Mm-hmm.
She's a lot of fun to follow on Twitter as well.
Yes, that's a highly recommended Twitter follow.
Yeah, she does a little cosplay now and then too.
Yeah, it's not too shabby.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, she's pretty. Diego Rivera is where I go to for a lot of comic book video games information. Because I like comic books and I like video games.
Yes,
so I like video games based on comic books.
Of course you do.
That's a good resource for that. So yeah, I guess that's a handful.
Sure.
I'm consuming information about video games most of the time. Video games, comic books, Star Wars.
Yeah, for me, it's mostly video game podcasts. I do an occasional true crime podcast, but those are kind of one and done. They're not like ones that they're ones that have 10 or 12 episodes and then they're done, and you got to find another one. But my wife has got me hooked on some of those. But most of mine are video game podcasts. An occasional news one from NPR, the ones where they make game shows out of it, like Wait, Don't Tell Me, or
love those.
I love Wait, Don't Tell Me. It's a fun way to consume the week's news. Have you heard of that one, Zach?
No, I have no idea what you're talking about at all.
It's maybe 40, 45 minutes long, and they get 3 panelists that are like, I hate to use the term like B-tier celebrity, but they're like Tom Bodett, Paula Poundstone. These are Peter Gross. I don't know if you recognize any of those names, but they're people
those names
that
mean nothing
like.
to me.
Okay, well, Peter Gross is one of the guys in the Sonic commercial. You know, the 2 guys sitting in a car in a Sonic. He's that's Peter Gross. Tom Bodett is an author. He's the Motel 6 guy. We'll leave the light on for you. You ever seen the Motel 6 commercials?
Not that I can remember.
But he's an author. I actually listened to his audio tapes when I was a kid. Loved him. Paul Tempa Poundstone's a comedian. But anyway, Peter Sagal, the host, does he asks like trivia questions based on the past week's news, and has the panelists answer, and has people call in and answer, and it's very humorous. It's like a smart way to hear about what happened in the news. I haven't listened to it in a couple of weeks since the world exploded, but I hear they are still doing it. Like Tom Hanks hosted the last one.
Oh,
and I haven't listened. He actually hosts often, but I haven't listened to it. My wife said it wasn't the same without the audience there. The audience laughing actually makes a part of it. It's not a laugh track. It's actually the audience. They record it live in Chicago. Anyway, shows like that. Ask Me Another is another good one, but most of my podcast listening is video game related, and it should come as no surprise that my journalist hero, as I've said from the beginning of the show, is Jeff Kanata. He does a podcast right now called DLC. He used to be on Weekend Confirmed with Garnet Lee. Prior to that, he was on One Up. I think they called it One Up Yours at one point, didn't they?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yes. Sorry, I liked One Up a lot.
I did too. That's where I first discovered him. I've been a fan of his for a long time, and he was, when I was back listening to the Giant Bombs and the Joysticks and some of these other podcasts that just seemed to just crap all over games. Everything was negative and what we didn't like about it, and this game is broken. And I was like, do you guys like games anymore?
Right.
And I started listening to Jeff, and even when he has this art of making you want to experience a game that he doesn't like. Like, even though he doesn't like it, he still talks about it in a positive way and says, well, you still have to experience this to some degree. I don't know. I just loved it. He loves games so much, and he was able to do it without just being snarky and without being so overly negative. And I listen to his show every week, and I have for several years now. Several years. I got his signature. I don't know if I told you that.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, he. I think I told you I was asked to write a chapter in a book called Pod Life. I was asking the guy Rob Southgate, who organized the book, asked us to write about our experience getting started in podcasting, and I wrote about Jeff in my chapter. And I sent him a copy and asked him to sign it for him, and he wrote me a full page note on it saying thank you for the kind words. It was really cool. So he's been my idol for as long as I can remember, and I've tried so hard to get him to come on the show. I've asked him, and he agreed once, and it fell through. And I just don't want to be that pestering guy, so I haven't asked in several months. But
it sounds like
someday it's going to happen.
Now that he wrote you a whole note, this would be the best time to ask, right?
Well, I was hoping. I threw it in there in an email and said, hey, if you'd ever like to come be on the show, or if you're looking for a guest on your show, I'd be honored to talk to you. And I mean that genuinely. It would be such an honor to talk to this guy, because I feel like he's the reason I'm sitting behind this microphone right now. I never would have thought that a guy like me could have done this. A guy that loves games and wants to look at this hobby in a positive light would ever be doing this for. I've been podcasting for 8 years now. 4 or 5 years for this show, and here I am, still plugging along. You guys are stuck with me. I'm not going anywhere. So, outside of Jeff, who I highly recommend. By the way, he does another show. Zach, I think I talked to you about it last week, called We Have Concerns.
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like a science comedy show. check out an episode of that. It may be a little, a little too dad jokey for you, but the science stuff that they talk about is genuinely fascinating, and they do it in comedic fashion. It's really great. He also does a podcast called The Dungeon Run, which I'm not a big D&D guy, but they do a live D&D game that looks like a professionally produced television show. Like they have animatronic puppets and stuff, and he does voices for all these characters, and he's the dungeon master, and he runs it. And I've heard nothing but good things about that show. So, and he's also on Slash Filmcast, so he's a podcasting aficionado. Anyway, outside of podcasts, you guys mentioned IGN. I'm actually a big fan of Ryan McCaffrey from. He's on the Xbox. The Xbox podcast Unlocked. The way I am genuinely jealous of his persona, and I don't even mean, that's probably not the right word, because I don't feel like it is a persona. I feel like it's just him, just his delivery of speaking and the way that he is able to interview questions. He recently interviewed Phil Spencer. The way he carries himself and asks questions and is so professional and asks the right questions is what I aspire to be as an interviewer. So I really look up to that guy, and that podcast is genuinely interesting to listen to. All the hosts are really good.
Yeah, his IGN Unfiltered, right? That's the interview show that he does. Yes. That's a real good podcast, man.
He interviewed Sissy on that podcast.
Oh, really?
It was a really good interview.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
He had a really good interview with Stig Asmussen, director of Jedi Fallen Order.
Oh, nice. Yeah, very knowledgeable. He loves Tesla. He's got a Tesla podcast as well. I don't know if you knew that.
I did know that, yes. I've never listened to it, but I know it, yeah.
His Twitter handle is like DMC_Ryan. Like, that's how big of a Tesla guy he is. So, Or that's a DeLorean thing, isn't it? Is DMC Tesla or DeLorean? Nate, you would know better than I would.
I don't know.
You don't know? Okay.
Until right now, I thought he was just a big Devil May Cry fan.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like seriously, I thought it was like, oh, Ryan McCaffrey's favorite game must be Devil May Cry.
No, that's a car reference. I want to say that on the front of the DeLorean it says DMC, doesn't it? Like on the front of the car, or it's either that or it's a Tesla
DeLorean
thing.
Motor Company.
Yeah, so he's a big car guy, and he loves Teslas, and he has an entire podcast dedicated to Tesla. So, outside of that, man, I mentioned the Married to the Games podcast. I listened to those guys because they are very family friendly, very upbeat, easy to listen to. Just normal guys that are all half of them are dads. I'm jealous of a couple of those guys' how much time they have to play games, because they just stream a lot. Let's see. I used to listen to, oh my goodness, what was the conference called? Gamers with Jobs. I used to listen to those guys quite a bit. They were good. I strayed away just because they started, they're bigger PC gamers than they are console gamers, and I'm not against PC gaming. I just don't PC game, so it was kind of out of my realm there. I used to listen to Joystick, but outside of like influence, I don't watch any YouTubers, any streamers. And like I said, if I'm sitting down in front of a TV, I'm going to watch a movie or a TV show. I never think to sit down and watch YouTube. I think you got me thinking about it last week, Zach, when you were talking about a speed run of Final Fantasy VII.
Right, yeah.
Just because for one, I just want to experience that story again in its original form, but I don't want to play through all the battles anymore. I just don't have any desire to play that battle system anymore.
That speedrun is honestly a good way to do it, because not only do they tell you a bunch of weird tricks and of the game's code and how it's actually smarter to not level up at all and just use grenades the whole game because it inflicts a set amount of damage. But they also do like really go over the story a lot there in that speedrun too. I'll send you a link, man. It's a really good watch.
Now, do they like? I still want to read the dialogue though, because in most speedruns, aren't they just like tapping through all the dialogue?
Yes, I guess yes. Well, yeah. I thought you just wanted like an overview refresher kind of thing. That would be good for that.
What I want is I want a cut of like all the important scenes with the dialogue that I can read.
Right, because they do
they have videos. Like videos. Yeah, it's all just like cutscenes, and they compile like a movie you can watch.
Right.
I tried to find one. I found one that was like 20 minutes long, and it told the whole story, or maybe it was 9 minutes, but it was too quick. I want like a good like half hour recap of the entire story of the original Final Fantasy VII.
Very specific what you're looking for, but I mean, if you type in like Final Fantasy VII movie cut or movie edit or something like that, you'll probably get somebody who's strung together all the cutscenes and story bits and stuff that you need to know.
Yeah, that's probably.
I would imagine. It's funny. It's funny to talk about that about YouTube, right? Because that's the first thing I pop up whenever I turn on my PS4. The first thing I do is go to YouTube.
Really?
Yeah.
YouTube. I watch YouTube more than anything else.
I agree.
See, I think of YouTube as like 2-3 minute video thing. Like when I was at your Nate, I think the last time I hung out with you in person outside of playing Moneymaker was when we were at Aaron's house.
Mm-hmm.
And we were just sitting around watching random like you had
Just
a whole queue
stupid
lined
videos.
up on,
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know, you were watching some weird Japanese game show or like how weird is this on a scale of 1 to 5? How
I've
is
always got some weird, funny videos.
it just became a competition to see who could come up with the weirdest thing to show the other person.
Oh yeah. Yeah,
and then it mixed
that's a lot
in
of
some
fun.
music videos because music
Mhm.
videos were a thing at one time.
Yeah.
All
I
right,
mean,
well,
YouTube is good for dumb videos, but also for good, high quality,
Information.
well informed content. Yes.
mm-hmm. I just never think to go to YouTube. And I don't know. You know what it is? I think a lot of stuff I consume on my phone, and if you don't pay for YouTube Red, you can't back out of YouTube and go check like an email or something and keep the audio going.
Yeah.
And that drives me crazy. Like if I'm watching a movie or something, I guess I can't do that with HBO or Netflix either.
Yeah,
That's what I
it's
really
funny.
want.
It's funny. I'm not subscribed to YouTube Premium, even though I use it way more than I do Hulu or Netflix.
I've also thought the same thing. It's like,
Yeah.
I've ad block on my desktop, so
Right, yeah,
I'm
there's just
alright with
something
that.
Something about YouTube where I'm like, I consumed it for 10 years without having to worry about this crap. Now you want
It's
to pay
like
12
paying
bucks a
for a
month?
$5 app on your phone that feels weird, but you'll drop 60
Yeah.
bucks on a console game, no problem.
Right. A game I'm like, I'm pretty sure I won't like this, but we don't all take a shot.
It's an everyday thing. It's not like I wouldn't get my use out of it. I mean, how
Right,
many
yeah.
ads have I sat through on my phone?
It's honestly probably
How much is YouTube Red?
$10?
I think I
10
want
bucks
to
a
say
month?
I want to say it's $12 a month, but I could be wrong.
It seems
It
a lot
is-
not to watch ads.
It is nice that you can like lock your screen and listen to something. Or
Yeah.
yes, check an email, as Scott said.
Yeah. I mean, these days I consume a lot of television on my phone because, if I watch a lot of TV in bed and the TV bothers my wife. And so I watch on my phone with my headphones in. And it is, but if it's cast to the television, then I can go check something on my phone while I'm watching. But I can't do that if I'm watching on my phone.
Right.
YouTube Red would allow me to do that, and I kind of like it.
Yeah.
You guys
Also-
both have Apple phones, right?
No,
Yes.
she has a.
I was talking
Droid.
about Zach and you.
Oh, yes.
Because on Android, you can definitely minimize YouTube and then go do other stuff.
Really?
Because you can have the video playing in like a small little cube and then go mess with your email or go check like Amazon. And it's fantastic, and you don't have to pay for that.
Interesting.
This is
Why
another
can't you do that on my
instance
iPhone?
where another instance where it sounds like Android is pretty great, but I can't leave the ecosystem after this long, man.
Oh, I'm definitely not knocking it. I was just saying the difference. It's one thing that you guys were saying that you can't do, but yeah, on Android you can definitely just like minimize it and watch the video while you're checking stock prices or whatever.
Good to know.
Yeah,
Google
good to
showing their preference to their own store, I guess.
I think so. Yeah.
That's fine. Good for them. Make you money.
Well, thanks to everybody that wrote in with the topic. That wound up lasting a lot longer than I expected it to, even though we do go off on a couple rabbit trails. Do you want to say hello to some new Facebook members over on facebook.com/groups/the GoCast? Michael McKinnon is brand new to the group, and also the above mentioned Keith Johnson Naylor Seth. Hope you guys are enjoying the content over there, as well as the news and reviews. Also, we don't have any new Discord members or iTunes reviews. However, by the time you hear this recording, my written review of Final Fantasy VII Remake will be published on the website for your reading pleasure. And after reading it, Zach and I discussed, this is a first, man. I don't think I've
Yes.
ever done this
It made me pretty
in a video
excited.
game review. Huh?
I said it made me pretty excited to read it. For sure.
Did it? Okay.
Yeah.
Glad to hear it, because this is going to be my first 10 out of 10 written review I've ever done. It's never happened before. And I'm shocked it hasn't happened before. And I know I'm going to get a lot of people saying, a 10 out of 10 means it's a perfect game. Can I call it a perfect game? No. But it was perfect for me. It was a perfect time in my life to play this game. Any imperfections did not alter my experience in any way, shape, or form. I enjoyed every last minute of this game, and it's the only RPG I've ever played that I immediately am considering going back and playing again. I've never done that.
Hey,
ever.
You know how I feel about games that are long. This is like a 40-hour game. I never got tired of the length. I constantly engage, and I also want to go back in. So I feel like it's a real good game, man. And your score is definitely not far off from what I would have given it either. So pretty good. And in my opinion, 10 does not mean perfect. That's a misnomer. Idolizing the number 10. 10 is a masterpiece, and there is very little you could improve upon from it. I honestly don't know how they could have improved Final Fantasy VII Remake.
I mean, I'm struggling. I mean, I mentioned last week some of the voice work. I think that I don't know if you finished the side quests in the third group of side quests. I feel like that got a little fetch questy, but I still enjoyed it.
I was saying it's so minimal.
I know, and that's what JRPGs were. That's
right.
I mean, if they didn't put that in there, I think somebody would be upset. So that's kind of a trope of JRPGs. And
I've never seen you this excited about a game.
Oh man, I haven't texted you about a game this much. I mean, we text like at least once or twice a day since we've done this podcast. I would say we text, but this was like full on conversations. Just the excitement, and I can't wait till you see this scene. And how far are you in the game? Are you working today? Because I want to know if you're playing it. It's just been like a kid in a candy store playing this game. So please read my review. I would really like to hear your thoughts on it. I know I'm probably gonna get a lot of flack for a perfect or a masterpiece score, but there's no better word to describe Final Fantasy Remake to me than masterpiece. And I hope more people give it a shot.
It's funny you say that, because if you remember the original Final Fantasy VII Black Edition, there was one word misspelled on the back of it, and it was, in fact, masterpiece.
And I have that. I have one of those. It's the only physical copy of Final Fantasy VII I own, and it was one that's got the misprint. And masterpiece has like an I and an E, I think, that are like either transposed or it's like shifted down or up. It's kind of cool.
That's pretty funny.
Yeah. I always thought it would be worth some money someday, so I got it a couple years ago. I'm like, that might be worth some money. It's a misprint. And apparently there's like 15,000 copies of it or something. So anyway, let's go ahead and jump into the games we've actually been playing. Anything new coming up on the horizon here, Zach?
Yeah, you know what? I was kind of surprised. There are a few games coming out. Gato Roboto comes out on Xbox One April 21st. This looks very much like a Game Boy kind of aesthetic.
Isn't that on Game Pass as well? Or no. That's the Games with Gold, isn't it? No, it's Game Pass.
I don't know, man. You've
okay,
derailed me.
I could have swore I just announced that the other day.
I wouldn't put it past Game Pass to have everything at some point.
All right.
Deliver Us the Moon, coming to PS4 and Xbox One, April 24th. I think this game looks kind of cool. You're like an astronaut exploring the moon, but it looks like there's actually kind of like a lot of set pieces. It gave me very Dead Space 2 vibes in terms of you kind of getting blown around the space station. No Necromorph, unfortunately.
Yeah. You almost sold me.
No, it just that kind of stylized action set piece. Like Uncharted, gotcha. I guess, as well. The Predator Hunting Grounds coming to PS4 as an exclusive on April 24th. That's at a 4v1 multiplayer game that was a lot of fun.
I could be any less excited for that game.
I like the beta that I played quite a bit, but it's just not. It's a hard sell at $40.
Yeah.
And then Trial. Speaking of remakes and remasters, Trials of Mana, also from Square Enix, PS4, Switch, and PC, April 24th. That's obviously a classic game come back, and then surprise release.
I think that already came out.
Maybe it did.
Because it looks like Dragon Quest.
Because what?
Because it looks like Dragon Quest.
Oh, is that why?
It's also not the first Mana remake.
It's true.
This year, I don't think, honestly.
So is it a remake of Trials of Mana, or is this the one that's got Secret of Mana in it?
The one had Secret of Mana, but they had the previously unreleased Trials of Mana, which was Japanese only. And this is an HD remake of that game.
Oh, okay.
Right. We saw a little bit of it at E3. I guess it really made an impact, Scott.
Yeah,
and then,
apparently.
and then XCOM had a surprise release, a spin-off called XCOM Chimera Squad, coming to PC April 24th. April 24th, Big Friday, apparently. I watched a trailer for this. I have no idea. I don't even know if this is a turn-based tactical game anymore. It looks very narrative-driven.
Really?
Yeah, like all your...
Like the whole shtick of Xbox or XCOM is that it's... and we refer to games like, oh, this feels very like an XCOM game.
Yeah, and I honestly don't know if that is still the case. I just watched the trailer, and it's just... It is already different because it has set characters in the squad. It's about these characters in the Chimera Squad, and it's about humans and aliens living together, kind of trying to work together. So it just seemed quite a bit different flavor for XCOM, but
Cats and
color me
dogs
intrigued.
living together.
Sure.
Mass hysteria. Yeah, I don't have a whole lot of interest. Maybe Gato Roboto, just because it's on Game Pass.
For me, obviously Trials of Mana.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Good, man.
I liked playing the remake, and I'd really like to try to see how that does in the HD fashion. Again, this looks like they kind of took the atmosphere of like Dragon Quest, like the art style from Dragon Quest.
Right, and it looks like a one of those, one-to-one kind of, we just made it prettier kind of remakes, not structurally different. Did you play the Trials of Mana that came out a couple years ago?
I did, and I thought it was good.
Okay.
I thought it was, obviously I was interested in it before it even came to the States, but then actually being able to play this unreleased game was pretty cool. And then I hope they take it a little bit further and kind of flesh out the story a little bit more. It had a great story, but seeing a little bit more, kind of giving these characters their own character, their own kind of flavor. Like, as a 2D sprite, you can only represent so much information in that character, but actually having like an animated character would be interesting to see.
Yeah, I think for me, I would go Dolores the Moon. Looks like a nice little 4-hour. I looked it up because it's already on PC.
It's
only
4
like
hours, so you're obviously on board.
Yeah, like 4 or 5 hours long. So it looked cool. I'm intrigued. It looked very double A. It looked very mid-tier, which I also like.
All right, well, to be perfectly honest, I haven't played anything new this week at all. I did finish up Final Fantasy VII Remake, which you did, Zach, as well. If you want to hear us talk about that in full spoiler territory, you're going to have to go to Patreon. But what are your specific thoughts? We already know that you think it's a masterpiece. How do you feel now that you've finished it?
Yeah, I think this game is absolutely incredible. It does some interesting things. The ending. If you're listening to a video game podcast, you're probably aware the ending of this remake is quite divisive amongst people. I will say I liked what they did with it. I liked it quite a bit, and the future is intriguing on this thing. But in terms of the game itself, it's so good. Those ending chapters are really a lot of fun, and they do some interesting things with party dynamics I liked a lot near the end of the game. We're kind of swapping between two groups, so I thought that was really clever. It's just, it never gets old. Like I said earlier, I put 40 hours in this game, and the combat is just so great that Man, if I didn't have to beat it in time for the spoiler cast, I would have done like every combat simulator mission I could. It's just any excuse to engage in the gameplay is welcome.
I will say one thing I kind of wish they would have done when you had to swap back and forth between the different party groups, like you were talking about. I wish you could have like a loadout of materia and stuff, because you need certain materias for certain enemies, and you want to have it for this character, but you also want to have it for them when you switch, because you can magically transfer materia back and forth between characters, even if you're not in the same part of the city for some reason, which, hey, I'll take it. But I wish that you could do like a loadout, just to be able to switch everything over and have to, instead of having to individually move all these materia over every single time, because that was annoying. I
do know what you mean, absolutely. But that's again another very minor thing, and yeah, man. I mean, this remake, is just full of character. I liked it a lot. I mean, it was just character first, though, almost the whole way through. It gets very plot heavy at the end, of course, but they made me care about characters that I almost like. Jessie, I almost forgot she existed at all, but then I ended up caring about her quite a bit, and that's impressive, and that speaks to. I appreciate that. When you need to extend a 5-hour story to 40, you only have two options. You fill in a bunch of filler plot threads, or you hone in and focus on the characters, and they definitely focus on the characters.
Absolutely.
As someone that hasn't played the remake yet, I have a couple questions for you guys. Now, is there any aspect of the game that the original had that you felt like they should have added to the remake? Like, do you feel like anything was missing?
Boy, I feel like they hit most of the big points or most of the things I wanted to see. I mean, the biggest things that I felt were missing are things that haven't happened yet.
Right.
Okay.
But they did. They let you know that going in.
This only goes to Midgar.
Yeah. Well, speaking of the spoiler cast, it's pretty impressive. This is, like if you think about a narrative structure, this is only Act 1 of what would be a traditional screenplay.
True.
And yet it feels completely satisfying, even with that. And that's honestly pretty impressive. That should drive you crazy.
In that same vein, do you feel like there's anything that they added to it, like where it kind of didn't fit in with the original? Is anything out of place?
Not out of place, but there are new elements that were not present in the original game.
Okay.
That are great. They kind of flesh out more with there are complete missions or story beats that feel like, the way I described it to Zack when I first came across one in particular, is it felt like we got the game Final Fantasy VII Remake, and then DLC was added for it where you got to go back and see some wacky adventure with these characters, but instead of it being all wacky, there's actually real implications to the main story. You know what I'm talking about? Like when you play DLC and you're kind of getting the backstory of what happened on the side.
Yeah.
But it's built into the game.
So that's extra sauce.
Yeah, some extra sauce. And then on top of that, even though I know you've played the original game before, so you know what happens, there are still ways that this game surprises you narratively. And that's all I can say without spoiling anything for you.
Well, I might have to check out that spoiler cast after I have a chance to play it.
Oh yeah. Just playing it is going to be the big thing you want to do, man. It's so much fun to play. Did you play the demo?
No, I wanted an unadulterated feel of the game. I want to go into it fresh, like I did the first.
Nice. I will tell you that my written review is completely spoiler free. I was very, very specific to not put any spoilers into that. I don't even think I vaguely put spoilers. I wasn't any.
Right.
I was speaking like I am right now, because I want you to have that experience. But first starting the game, as you read in my review, brought me back. I feel like I haven't been that excited to start an epic adventure as I was when I played this again.
That is an iconic intro. I mean, What other
And they-
games are to that level?
And they do it perfectly. It's so
Right.
perfect.
It's more. I don't know. Yeah, they made a game that I think it very much caters to people who like the original. You know, whereas like
Mhm.
Resident Evil 2 or Resident Evil 3 are remakes that are like, that's good for anybody. That could be your first Resident Evil. You know, that could be your first Leon Scott experience and no big deal. This feels very much made for people that have played, or at least know the story of Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, we
Which
talked
is
about that a little
interesting.
bit with Patrick. You know, that it's still accessible to people that haven't played the original, but there's a lot of fan service. For sure, there's a lot of fan service, and there are subtle things that happen that won't make sense to new
Yeah.
players.
I would say it goes
And-
further than fan service personally, but I get what you're saying. I think there are narrative beats that are they apply better if you know the story of Final Fantasy VII.
That's a good one.
I mean, for instance, you know, Sephiroth is a much bigger deal here than he ever was in Midgar in the original game.
Mhm.
You know?
Yeah, there wasn't a whole lot of Sephiroth going on in Act 1, as it were.
Did he just show up at the end of Disc 1 pretty much, right? Am I remembering that correctly?
I mean, you had like flashes here or there, but I don't think he was very
Yeah.
prevalent.
Right.
That's still
I don't know.
mostly what he is. And
Yes
here.
and no.
It's true.
But
yeah,
we
again,
obviously
we're
can't-
trying to dance.
We're dancing around things.
I know,
Anyway.
I know.
It is, yes, I think it works better if you have played Final Fantasy VII. I'm about to restart that PS1 version on my Vita, though, because I am intrigued.
I will watch a replay of somebody else doing that because.
Fair enough.
Well, Nate, you've been playing a game called Hungry Shark World on
Yeah.
Switch. I have no idea what this is. What is that?
So it's actually a port of a mobile game in which you command a plethora of sharks in an attempt to score grab, and it includes eating people and things and fish. And there's like this gold rush mode where you eat a certain amount of things and you just go around and you create a mad dash to try to get to the highest score. And there are little tiny challenges in there where you have to eat like 5 crabs, or you have to find like the note in the bottle at the bottom of the screen. But what it is you go and you play through different sharks, and each one of these sharks has a specific attribute that aids you in achieving a higher score. Some parts of the level can only be accessed by larger sharks, some by faster sharks. It's very much a score grab game, and it's very cutesy, and it's a big waste of time, and it's fantastic.
Perfect.
That
Sold.
sounds pretty good. Yeah. How much is that on Switch?
Well, it was on sale. It was like $5, but I think the actual price on it was $10. Being a mobile game, like, you have to go into it. It doesn't have a story really to it, but you do have like these, I don't know, being that you have achievements per level, there are multiple levels that you can play, multiple sharks that you can unlock. I think there's like, I don't know, there's a lot. There's like 40 or 50 different sharks to unlock.
Wow.
On top of like other collectibles. So you not only have a shark, but then you can unlock a skirt that gives you 5% more resilience. Or you can unlock like a tourist costume that gives you more damage or more points for eating people. It's got like weird little things you can add onto your shark, and then you're just a shark running through the water with like a sombrero and a skirt. It's just very odd. It's a big waste of time, like I said, but I mean, for $5-10, it was something entertaining, and my daughter actually enjoyed playing it. I was really surprised and glad to see that there was a different mode, because if you're playing it regularly, it does have blood in there, but you can turn the blood off. So it's a little bit more young one friendly. So she had a blast just eating people with sharks, and yeah, it was fun.
Does your daughter like the song Baby Shark?
She absolutely adores that song, and I
Do you know what you just
absolutely
did?
hate it.
To the most of our listeners just now,
Got An earworm stuck in
Everybody is going to have it in their head right now.
Oh man, that's
I didn't even
messed
sing the
up.
song. I just said the word.
That's all it takes.
That's all it takes.
I had an earworm today because I 3D printed a thing from Neverending Story, and I had that song in my head all night. I just was like, Neverending Story. Earworms.
I've never
So
seen
hopefully you
it.
get that earworm stuck in your head instead of the other one. Love that movie. Such a good movie. I can't believe you've never seen that, Zach. You need to see Neverending Story. That's like a writer's movie.
Yeah. One day.
I mean, it's. Do you know the premise?
No, I did.
You ever seen Pagemaster?
No.
It kind of has a very more authentic Pagemaster kind of vibe.
Also, it's very 80s, so
Yeah.
if you do watch it, just remember it looks like poop now, and the Luck Dragon
Okay.
will creep you out way more than he did when I was a kid.
Falcor.
Is there anyone notable in that film that I would know of?
I don't believe so.
Okay.
I believe everybody. Oh, no, Billy Crystal's not in that. That's Princess Bride.
Yeah.
The guy that he looks like the Billy Crystal character from Princess Bride, but it's not Billy Crystal. But I actually own the movie. I should have shipped it to you.
I have 1 and 2 on a Blu-ray combo pack.
Oh, 2's terrible.
Oh, it's awful.
Oh, it's so bad. It's got the kid from. You will know the kid in that movie, but
How do you make a sequel to the Neverending Story?
It never ends, dude. There's probably a third one coming.
there is a third one.
Is there?
There is a
All
third
right.
one, and I didn't even see it because I was like the second one. They fight monsters with a spray can,
Yeah.
like an aerosol spray can. At one point, I remember by super dumb.
The first one's good. The second one's bad. The third one I never even bothered.
Yeah, same here. Anyway, before we wrap things up, I got a couple more reviews to share with you. I sat down with Chris Owens and Spencer Cushing from our team. They talked to us about a couple games. First is called Convoy. The second is called Pixel Ripped 1995. You're going to want to check that out, and you can listen to those right now. I am here with Chris Owens and Spencer Cushing from my team over here at the Gaming Outsider. How you guys doing?
Pretty good. How you doing?
Oh, man, you guys sound just super excited to be here.
Oh,
Sorry. Let me try that again. Awesome, man. I'm so happy to be here.
I'll give it a spin. Sure.
Wow. I love you too, man.
Gotta love the effort, man.
Well, let's start with Mr. Happy Pants over there, Mr. Owens. I want to hear about this game you've been playing for us called Convoy.
Yes.
This comes from aptly titled Convoy Games, and Evolve PR is the PR rep that hooked you up with this copy. So we want to say thanks to them. But talk to me about this because I got some FTL vibes from this. It looks very strategic, but some old school graphics. What'd you think of Convoy?
It definitely does, Scott. It's a top-down roguelike strategy game with a lot of text elements going. You and I talked about this privately. That Zork came to mind with all the text elements and how heavy it is.
Oh my goodness!
in that
Wasn't Zork
game.
just text?
Yes, that's what's so heavy about the text base in this game. You're basically a crew that crashes on a planet, and you have to traverse the land, Mad Max style, in search of fuel and parts and upgrades for your ship, so that you can repair it, of course.
So far,
And-
sounds good.
And while along the way, you also have a convoy of a MC. Oh shoot, I can't remember the acronym. Of a vehicle that you're defending with two other destroyer vehicles that you defend against enemy vehicles that you shoot at or deploy different weapons, electromagnetic pulses, and even ram them to destroy them so they don't destroy your main vehicle.
Okay, so how does the gameplay work?
The gameplay works is that as you traverse the lane, you're encountered by 3 different factions that inhabit the planet, and they're either checkpoints or they're nomads or they're like little hunting groups, and that they either challenge you for parts and you kill them or you barter with them. And how you react is also, bring another text idea up there, like the Oregon Trail, where that based on your decisions, you either earn fuel, earn parts, earn things that you can continue your travels with, barter with, etc.
So the text-based decisions are what affect the gameplay when you're actually doing the strategy map overlay stuff.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah. And the one thing I did find positive on this is that the overlay is very well simulated. Like if you're in an area where if you know how to read a map that's of geographic depth, if you're going from a dark area to a very light area that if we know is an area that's becoming mountainous, you slow down. So you try to, as I played, I noticed like, hey, if I can kind of get around this mountain and kind of travel a little bit faster to get to my destination, it's a positive strategy to do.
So you're playing with the topography, as it were.
There you go. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, that's interesting. Did you like this game? Or are you recommending it to our listeners?
No.
Okay.
I am not. It's not, I'm not saying it's a bad game. It's just not my cup of tea. I mean, when you do a lot of traversing, you do a lot of reading, you do a lot of quite frankly, what I find inane in this generation of games, that I think this game would have been a decent game 4 generations ago, even better 6. I think its time has passed is how it's laid out. It is a roguelike where you get better as you die, but it's very, very difficult to hang on to it while you get to that point. When you do actually engage in battle, you have trucks, 2, sometimes 3 that you're fighting against, and if your escort vehicles are destroyed, you're sitting there like a sitting duck, and all you can do is deploy an EMP. And that's just if you get into it. And if you die, you start all the way over again. So you've earned nothing during these battles. And then you go back and start again to run the whole cyclical, quite frankly, boring type strategy, which there isn't any, that you have to try to get back to that same point again. It's just not my style. I mean, everybody loves FTL and everybody thinks I'm Mad Max in this area, but just not for me.
Okay. Do you think fans of strategy games though would find some enjoyment in this, or?
It doesn't offer a lot more than that. Okay. So I mean, if that's all they're looking for, yes, they can. They'll be into it, but that's all you're going to get. You're going to get it from point A to point B with a couple of small detours in between, and no pop, as I would put it. There's nothing beyond that to really pull in any type of gamer that's a fan of any other genre.
All right,
you know, I'm just going to say that I'm really into the strategy games, and from what he said, it doesn't seem that pleasurable to play either. So.
Okay. No, we all read and played the Choose Your Own Adventure games back in the late 80s, early 90s.
Right.
And I was 8 or 9 years old. I'm not anymore. So, I mean, I guess if you want to put it that way, maybe for very novice gamers who are just looking for a very simplified experience, they'd get into this. But for gamers like us who are, I'm not saying we're like king dogs or anything like that, but we've certainly been around the block as far as genre titles go overall, not just roguelites and strategies, but there are better options out there.
All right, fair enough. Let's move on to Spencer, because Spencer, you've been playing a VR game for us that I'm really stoked to hear about. This is a sequel, actually. It's called Pixel Ripped 1995. The developer is Arvor, and we got this copy from Jesus Frabre, who hooked us up with this, and talk to me about this. Because, you know, the 90s were my jam, man. That was like my heyday of gaming, you know, because I didn't get into gaming until the late 80s.
You
early
had
90s
a heyday?
was, huh?
You had a heyday?
Man. I did have a heyday, man.
You
and
know,
this game looks very much like a throwback to that era of games for me. Tell me this game is awesome.
All right, right out the gate, this game is epic. And
epic.
I'm just getting into the VR life, and I actually was able to get my hands onto CB's VR to play this game specifically, and I didn't know it was a sequel by any means, but this game,
it is.
I'll take your word for it, but this game is amazing. The graphics on it, right when you start the game, you're in a 2-dimensional world that you're playing a 2-dimensional game on a little Game Boy looking system. And
all
then
right.
After you get to the end of in that specific game in a game, you find this sword and then get transported into a whole nother 3D world. And then
it sounds like Inception. It's like an Inception type deal.
It really messes with your head at the beginning, but I think it's really funny because one of my favorite scenes or parts of the game is when you're playing the game in front of the TV in your living room. Your mom's yelling at you to get off the system, like back in the day as a kid. And all of a sudden, magically appears a little Nerf gun beside you. And
I like where this is going.
they tell you to shoot the Nerf gun at either the cereal boxes on top of the fridge or the little pot of cookies. Like there's like a little cookie jar right on top of the counter, and they tell you to shoot at it to distract your mom from turning off the game system, which, by the way, I've had happen twice, and it really upset me because I felt like I was like legit still that age, and my mom would come turn my system off, and I'd be like, I'd throw the controller and get all upset.
That's hilarious. So do you like lose your progress if that happens?
Yes. So in the game, there are save spots in there or checkpoints, and once your mom in the game itself turns off the game system, it sends you back to that last checkpoint. So you have to start over if you didn't find a checkpoint fast enough.
So it really is a game within a game. Like you are a kid playing games on your TV, trying to get away with playing as much as you can and keeping your mom distracted while you're trying to play.
Boy,
Yes.
when have we not been in that area? I mean, come
Yeah.
on, this is right up our lifestyle.
Yes, it reminds me of being a kid. That's why I love this game so much so far.
Being a kid, I'm doing that with my wife, man. You know you are, Scott. You know it's true.
So talk to me about the games inside this, because from the trailer, it looks like there's some solid like 90s platformers and different genres of games. How are those?
Yeah, so you start off as this lady warrior type cyborg thing, I guess so to say. And at the beginning, you are 2-dimensionally running and shooting this little laser out of your arm, I guess.
Mega Man style, right, Chris?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes, just like that. Yep. And then it becomes 3-dimensional, which just like confuses the heck out of you. But genre wise, I mean, it just looks like a shooter type game or an adventure game all in one.
So it's got the VR elements. It's got that retro feel, but you're playing it in VR.
Yeah.
This sounds like a game I have to play. By the way, I did confirm it is a sequel. There's another one called Pixel Ripped 1989.
Oh.
So it's the same deal where you're trying to stop. Your mom is trying to stop you from playing games, and you're trying to get away with it and playing games from the 80s instead. So
yeah,
might for those people that this sounds cool, but you're a bigger fan of the 80s, might want to check it out. So
I want them.
Pixel Rip 95. Is this one you're going to recommend?
I will highly recommend this game, 100%.
Awesome. Well, thanks again to Jesus and Evolve PR for hooking us up with those review copies. And thanks to you guys for stopping by to talk to us about those. They both sound pretty awesome, especially Pixel Ripped.
Heck yeah.
Well, I guess they both don't sound awesome. Spencer, your game sounds pretty awesome. And I can't wait to try it.
Yeah. Heck yeah.
All right. Well, you guys have a good one, all right?
You
Thanks.
too, man. Thanks.
So I went back and caught up on another game. I went back and dove back into Iconoclasts this week, Zach.
Oh man, an absolute classic.
It's such a good game. We talked about it at length in the past, and I realized one thing when I was replaying this, because I'm playing it on Xbox One now because I like achievements. And this game, when you first started out, I forgot how, I don't know, it feels like a primitive game when you start it. I'm saying this because it takes a good 45 minutes before you start really getting into some of the good dialogue, and seeing some of the really super interesting characters. Do not start this game and think within the first 10 minutes that this is a kid's game, that this is just a super simplistic platformer. There's a lot of moving parts in this game, and some of the best written dialogue I've seen in a game in a long time, and some of the best characters that I've seen that is just text-based. There's no voice acting. It's all cartoony sprites, but they work. They're really good, and the Metroidvania mechanics are an absolute blast to play. So I obviously haven't finished it. I've only been 2 or 3 hours into it, but I think I'm going to go through and finish this game again because I'm just enjoying it.
Hey man, if you want a charming pixelated game about the horrors of war and loss of identity and what it means to be a good person when in a world that won't let you, that's a great time.
Mm-hmm. And I love how they introduce the what's going on with the government and how they're being oppressive without just outright saying it. Like, you have no idea that this thing exists when you start the game, and you just experience it. I almost don't want to tell you what it is, but it's very, I don't know. Is zealot the right word? It feels very...
Yeah, zealot's a good word.
Um,
Oh man, Black.
Not what I was expecting.
Black is such a good character.
I like, and the guy's name is escaping me, but he's a
Chrome.
shirtless cowboy. Is his name Chrome?
Yeah.
Shirtless cowboy that wears pink boots, and like it's like the most bizarre character, and he's the coolest character. I love the stuff he says.
Yeah,
Everything that he says just is cool.
Half his dialogue is just like philosophical diatribes.
Yep.
It's pretty
But
wonderful.
he's very middle of the road. Like, even though he's on one side of the line, he sees the other side of the line as well. And I feel like we never see characters in anything, in literature or anything. They're always either a good guy or they're always a bad guy. And this character is clearly on one side, but he's empathetic in a way that I don't normally see in characters in games. So, man, I feel like we need to do a spoiler cast on that game.
Yeah, I feel like I gotta boot it back up.
Yeah, man, it's a really great game. Mechanically, it's sound. The bosses are just so
Yes.
clever.
Bosses are so good in that game.
You will
Each one is
play this
incredibly
game
unique.
and this is one guy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Joaquin Sandberg?
Yeah.
One guy made this game, and you will not believe it is one guy. It is so well put together. The animations are great. The dialogue is fantastic. The music is catchy. Play Iconoclasts. I know that we talked about it last year, but and I'm playing it on a different platform and just really enjoying revisiting this game. But don't be turned off by its cutesy color palette and appearance at the beginning of the game. It gets dark, and man, I'm seeing Arlo. You know the character Arlo?
Yes.
And knowing where his story goes towards the end of the game, and I'm seeing him again for the first time since then, and I'm going, oh man, I know what's going to happen to you, buddy. And I can't wait to get there again now. So I cannot recommend that game enough. And thank you for recommending that one to me, Zach, because I don't think I ever would have played that one if you hadn't told me about it.
Yeah, it feels like a lot of people haven't, and yeah, you should really check that out.
I will have to check it out. I have not, don't know anything about it.
It's really solid, man. I think somebody's got a physical copy floating around. Oh, you've got a physical copy, don't you, Zach? On PS4?
I have a PS4 copy from Limited Run, yeah.
Yeah. All right, anything you guys been playing, or are we going to roll out here?
I finished up on In Other Waters. So
you did?
Yep. So I should have a written review soon.
Sweet.
And then playing through Metroid, and if I can't get a hold of a copy of Final Fantasy VII Remake, I think I'm going to play through Brave Fencer Musashi on PS1 again.
Yeah, buddy.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to be exploring the all-you-can-eat kingdom.
Such a quirky game.
It is. That game's a lot of fun.
All right, well, that is going to do it for this episode of The Gaming Outsider. Zach, any parting words before we get out of here?
Well, I mean, Caramel Bear told you earlier, but you should listen to Smirk. You know, my creative writing and storytelling podcast where we bring you to a moral or theme to discuss on the show. It's not bad. I think it's pretty good.
A lot of people think it's really great.
It feels like if people listen to it, they like it a lot. You just have to find it. That's all.
I have a recent episode that's still a favorite. I laughed out loud multiple times on that one. The verboten topic, as it were.
Oh yes, absolutely.
That was a fun episode to listen to. Nate, how about you, man? Anything going on with you this week?
No. If you're stuck in the house, give YouTube a shot. Watch more YouTube. Love YouTube.
It's good.
I hear that that's an up-and-coming website. It's going to take off one of these days.
It's a great resource to learn some new things.
Once they remove that 10-minute limit, it really changed the game.
Man,
you guys remember that way back in the day?
Yeah, there was a 10-minute limit, wasn't there? Holy cow. That's kind of crazy to think about.
Yes.
Well, everybody out there, thank you so much for listening. Please be sure to email us if you have any questions or concerns. That address, in case you don't have it, is feedback@thegamingoutsider.com. Until next week, I'm Scott Clark with Zach Parkerson and Nate Lucas, and we are the Gaming Outsider. And remember, there's no such thing as a bad game, just games that aren't for you.